When I was a kid, I had a dream, and that dream was to become a professional footballer. Now, at age 23, I'm currently playing my second season of professional football. However, along the way, I've also made my fair share of mistakes. Mistakes that have slowed down my growth on my way to that first pro contract. Today, I'll present 7 of those mistakes to you. 7 mistakes that, if not corrected, could be the difference between never reaching your goal and actually signing your first pro contract. Let's begin. Number 1. Stress. So the first mistake I wanted to talk about is stress, and not the kind of stress that maybe you think of at first. I get this all the time in my Instagram DMs, people messaging me saying, yeah, I'm 15, 16, 17, and I feel like my time is running out. I have to go pro next year or I'll just have to give up on my dream. And then I think to myself, when I read that, now that I'm 23, having played 2 seasons of professional football, then I'm thinking to myself, why are you so stressed out? I mean, you're 15, 16, 17. Why are you so stressed out? But then I look back, and when I was at that age, I remember like it was yesterday, because it feels like it. When I was 16, 17, 18, I had this exact thought in my mind. I have to go pro at 18 because otherwise there isn't any point with anything. And I turned pro at 22. That's 4 years later, but I kept at it. And if I had quit at 18, 19, I wouldn't have been where I am today. It's as simple as that. So everyone's career path is really different, and I promised you, just stay in it and work hard, dedicate yourself and be consistent, and then the results will come. Maybe not at 18, maybe not at 19, but wait, 20, 21, 22, a lot of people, a lot of players will fall out of the game, and then you are there having persisted and stuck through it, and then you start to reap the rewards. Number 2, doing too much. So there was a period in my career at around from 16 all the way up to 20, I'd say, where I actually did too much at times. I overtrained myself, I overexerted myself, and this only hindered my performance. I wanted a lot with my football. I wanted to reach my goals, so I also worked extremely hard, and this impacted me in the way that maybe I had sore legs on a training where I didn't want to have sore legs, and I couldn't perform because of that, because I had hit the gym too hard. So I remember this one time when I was 19, I stayed after training to hit free kicks for 30-40 minutes. So I actually injured my quadriceps due to too much kicking. And then I had to go to my coach the day after that and explain what had happened. And then we had a game the day after that, and he wasn't happy, obviously. So I'm not telling you that you shouldn't work hard. You definitely have to do that, but also be smart when to do it. Just like you haven't got enough in the tank to pull out an intense session, then skip that one, because in the long term you may think that, oh, I'm missing out on a training session. Well, yeah, but it's one training session over the duration of 30 years. So you really have to expand your viewpoint and think of it in the longer term. If you miss one training session, if you miss 2, that's only going to help you if you're not up for it, And I'm not talking now about being tired or just lazy. I'm talking about the times when your body just isn't ready to go through with the session. Then skip that one. Switch that session out with some active recovery, some foam rolling, stretching, go to the sauna, do some ice baths, whatever it is, because that is only going to help you in the long term. Number 3, isolation. So I grew up as quite an introverted person, and there have been times in my career where I have isolated myself from my teammates. And I thought that just by digging my head into the ground, working hard, that will be enough for me to reach my goals. But at the same time, I have never been so low on confidence, played so poorly, and been so unhappy as I was in this certain phase of my life. When I finally started to enjoy being with my teammates and being open to them, that's when things really changed. Now, I didn't say that you have to go hold hands, eat popcorn, and watch the latest Marvel movie with each other. But, just when being in training or traveling on the bus to a game in the dressing room, try to be more open, try to enjoy your time with your teammates, because those are really some of the moments that you will cherish once you decide to finally hang up your boots. Number 4, communication. I'm sure that every single one of you have at some point in your career, or maybe even right now, there is one or several people around you in your football that you're a bit afraid of talking to. And this was the same for me when I was younger, and it's still the same from time to time. It's gotten a lot better. I think this plays a lot into, having been an introvert and not really communicating. I think those two have gone a bit hand in hand. So there have been times when I've been injured and haven't really said anything. Could also be, just asking for advice, because these people are usually older than you. They have been in the game for longer. They know more than you do. And you often hear that, with the greatest players, that they act like sponges. They seek out every little piece of information that they can get their hands on. And this is something that I could have done better in my younger years, because I always wanted to find things out by myself for some weird, stupid reason. And it could also be just, casually chatting with them and building a relationship. I don't say you want to be the teacher's pet, but it doesn't hurt to maintain a healthy and cool relationship with your coach or whoever it is. Number 5, I'll deal with this later. So this was quite a weird mentality that I had, and it was about pushing things into the future instead of dealing with them right now. So I looked up somewhere that Cristiano Ronaldo, who was my big idol growing up, that he was really skinny as a kid, and I could identify in that. When he came to Manchester United at 18, he was really skinny, but then he built up this great physique that everyone now knows him by. I had this thought that if he could build up his physique at 18, then I can just delay that and do the same, instead of actually using this advantage and this knowledge that he was skinny when he came to United and he had to build up to meet the demands of the league and whatever. So instead of taking that advantage that I had and, getting ahead, like doing better than what he did, growing my physique when I was 13, 14, 15, 16, I did that. I worked on my physique. But always at the back of my mind, I was like, I don't have to do this fully, because I will do this at 18 because he did. And, it's just kind of a weird mentality. I'll choose to call it the I'll deal with this later mentality. And this can apply for a lot of different things. It doesn't have to be my specific example. So try to identify if you have any of this mentality within your career and your life, that I'll just deal with this later because I will have the time later to go to the gym or whatever it is. And try to think about, can I instead use this time to get ahead and use it to my advantage? Number 6, hero worship. So moving on from the 5th mistake and my desire to mimic and emulate Cristiano Ronaldo. It came to a point where I became obsessed with everything he did, and I thought that by doing the same kind of training, eating the same things, sleeping the same amount of hours, then I would get to the point where I wanted to, and that was to be as good as he was. So the mistake in here is about worshiping someone to the point where you don't see the bad things that they do. Well, in terms of him, you may say, well, he does everything right, he works really hard and he takes care of himself and he does this and that. You have to look at it from a bigger perspective and understand that just because these things work for him, they may not work for you. Well, what would have been the better mindset in this situation? That would have been to use him as an example, look at the things he did, then apply them and insert them into my own career and my own training and see what worked for me. But I looked at these things blindly and I thought that, if I do this exact exercise, I will become the same as him. But I didn't take into consideration that we all have different circumstances, we all live different lives in different places, different locations, And in the end, we're all different people and different players. And therefore, everything that applies to one person doesn't necessarily have to apply to another. And this is something that I should have learned earlier on, and I think this slowed me down a bit. Therefore, I think it's important that you do not follow one person, player, or advice blindly, even if they're the best in the world at it, because as it may turn out, the same thing may not work for you. Number 7, close to feedback. And this mindset of blindly following one player kept going into other parts of my mentality. I wasn't very open to feedback, and I had to find out everything by myself. Now, don't get me wrong, I listened. I wanted to act like a sponge, and I asked questions, but I didn't apply them if I didn't deem them reliable. And I mean, how would I know? Because I haven't been there. If my coach came and told me, yeah, you should try to think about this, I was like, okay, yeah, this sounds good, you know. But if I didn't read about it in a place where I deemed it was reliable, or if I didn't find out by myself for some reason, I didn't feel that I would have to listen to stuff like that. I would rather listen to, you know, Ronaldo or Messi, or people in those kind of spots who have made it to the very top. And I think it's not bad that you want to do that, but I think that the people close to you know what is best for you at that moment in time. And obviously there are things that you can learn from these players, and that's not what I'm saying, but try to listen to the people close to you, because they usually know what is best for you. And don't close their feedback off, because that's what I did. And this was just one example of me having a fixed mindset, and having a fixed mindset can truly damage your career. And if you want to find out more about the fixed mindset, you can watch this video up here. If you enjoyed this video and learned something from it, please leave a like, it'll help the channel out a lot. Consider subscribing so you don't miss any of the new content that I release, and then I'll just see you in the next one. Take care guys, and bye.